Hey, Kevin.
How you doing?
Good. It's nice that you were able to make it this afternoon. It's great. So you're coming up on the end of the day back there.
Oh yeah. It's about
Did
the
you ever
time I
go?
either it's about the time I either play out or get my second wind.
I know that feeling too. I don't really have standard times. I just pretty much, unless something else is involving my time, I'm kind of always here. That, I do know that we had a few more people that were planning on being here, so they should be popping in rather soon, I hope.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll have I don't know, short heart to heart then and go through the agenda
I
pretty
guess.
quickly.
What's the note taker you're using or are you using that note taker? Is that
Yeah,
is that part of
this is Fathom. I've been
oh,
really
okay.
happy with it. I know that other popular ones are Otter and Fireflies, and I think there's even more than that. This one has been pretty good for me so far. In fact, I don't know if I ever got a chance to send that meeting over to you that we had earlier because I kind of got sidetracked on my next.
That's okay.
Well, this will
We'll
at
get
least
there.
will let you see what it does at least. There's the link. Put it in the community right there for you. Yeah, so what that does is it will link you out to the Fathom site where it has recorded a lesser quality of the audio and video, but it does retain that in the transcript, and it's got some integrated things where AI's kind of summarized and taken notes for the meeting, and it actually does a really good job. I've been quite impressed with it. So,
Sounds
hi,
good.
Stacy.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for joining.
No worries. Sorry about missing the last one. I somehow didn't get the notification didn't connect to my calendar. I'm trying to fix
Oh,
that.
well, you were busy preparing for some stuff with Zara as well. Tell me about that event and kind of what
Oh
you.
yeah. Yeah, that's coming on the 21st. She's such a great champion of women in tech. So was connected with somebody that is putting on an event in Toronto, and she got me on a panel. And it's at the University of Toronto, and it'll be in front of a bunch of university students, likely, or women that are in technology and it'll kind of be a mentorship panel. So they've got a woman from Toronto Dominion Bank and
Okay.
somebody from Vector Institute, which is a big AI research company in
Okay.
Canada. Yeah. So
That's cool.
I'm with
What are their
Zora.
experience? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's my first time being on a panel where I'm actually speaking about artificial intelligence. So it'll be interesting. I have a little bit of an imposter syndrome going on, but I'll
You're
make
gonna
it
do
work.
great, but I know that feeling exactly, and it can be overwhelming. And then shortly after you begin the conversations, you'll probably realize how big of a gulf there is between the knowledge you have and what others have. I think there's a little bit of I don't bias, or we just take it for granted because we're around people who are actively trying to study it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you go outside this little world, and there's a lot of naivete about
There is.
AI.
There is. I co-emceed an event last week. It was an AI meetup. And yeah, it's interesting and definitely in front of a young group as well. And yeah, I was able to hold the conversation really well
That's
and
great.
and give them tips. So it was good.
So what did you notice or take away from the group? Was there more or less involvement than you thought there would be?
From the which one? The one that we just
From
had?
the youth group that you were,
Or the youth group? Yeah, well, they're really looking for mentors. Like they're looking for guidance. A lot of them are, trying to navigate. I think some of them are frustrated because they entered software development and then they're hearing like, oh, you don't need to be, programmer and stuff. And the job market's a little bit tough. So they're really looking for like, strategic guidance and like how to navigate. So I get a lot of that. But when it comes to the space itself, I think everybody is somewhat coming at it from a different angle. So the idea shared from everybody is valuable. And I feel that we're ahead of the curve when it comes to Gen AI
Mhm.
for sure, like what's happening there. And a lot of the younger students are really focused on building like developer stuff, but not really exploring the current capabilities right now with the tools. So I thought that was interesting. And I was able to hold a strong conversation with the Vector Institute AI researcher, which made me feel good.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do they specialize in?
They just do research on AI and they also have courses. So they're funded by the government. I don't know fully or partially. I'm not sure. I'm sure they get paid by organizations and corporations as well, but they work closely with the U of T. They're just a prominent figure in the space. I would say close to like I know Stanford's much larger than just AI related, but if you think about like a Stanford, like the AI division within Stanford or MIT, I would say that's that like they have a really great network in Canada and the US. So their name pops up everywhere when it comes to artificial intelligence. And in Canada, we're known for the research side of things, because of Jeffrey Hinton, and I can never pronounce his name. The guy that left OpenAI to start his own, well, a lot of them left OpenAI to start their own company, but Jeffrey Hinton had a bunch of OpenAI and Google, like, people that went and grew their own businesses. So a lot of them were at the University of Toronto and had ties to Vector Institute as well. So,
That's great. It's amazing. Once you meet a few people, you realize just maybe how small the community is, and just
yeah.
how you're not very many degrees of separation from one person to the next.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that I noticed was that a lot of them are creating technology for technology's sake right now, a bit because they're younger, and which is why I kind of wanted to test out the branding course that we went through this morning. Because I do feel that these younger startups kind of need that just to make sure that their ideas and their products have some weight behind it.
Sure.
Yeah, because sometimes they're building a tool, but then you ask, well, what can you do with it? And they're like, well, and I'm like, well, you need to sell it. You need to, you need, yeah. And so they're having a harder time.
I get that. So, have either of you tried any new AI tools this past week or experimented with anything new?
Hmm. Formless is one that I'm playing with right now. They have an event this week, but Formless is by Typeform, and it's an AI. I'm labeling it as a survey tool, but they are saying that they can do a lot more with it. Um, but I probably will be talking about it at the next session next week.
Okay.
Um, yeah, for the brand audit side, but it's kind of cool. Perplexity is using it for their events and whatnot. So yeah, I'm testing that out right now. And I'm like I said, I'm attending an event in 2 days to see how they suggest us using it.
Well, that's good. I look forward to hearing back about that. I've used Typeform and integrated it into some workflows and stuff, but you would be very rudimentary type forms and data. So it sounds like they're putting more capabilities in.
Yeah, I just put a link in there. So, but yeah, I kind of want to understand more use cases. I'm also working, well, somebody is, came to me, and I don't know if I'm the right person to work with on this, but they're wanting to create something within the LinkedIn direct message, an automation. And it's like, let's say like it's a lead gen tool. So they are advertising their services, they do outreach on LinkedIn, and then they drive them to a direct message. And the issue that they're having within LinkedIn is that they can only automate the first uh like sentence, but they
Mhm.
want to carry through the conversation within direct message to get them to book a meeting, if that makes sense. And so they want to automate that because he's currently overwhelmed with everything that he does with work, that he's just like saying, "Ugh, I'd rather, you do the outreach and then automate the conversation to make sure to understand what they want, and then they book the call through Calendly." And I don't, so I'm doing some research to see what the capabilities are there. I don't know. And so I'm going to get
You know,
back to him on Thursday, and I don't know if there's somebody else that's better suited to, follow through, but because I'm just looking at tools right now.
so LinkedIn is really kind of a difficult platform because
Hmm.
their stuff ultimately is mostly paywalled. You can get in there and do some things with your basic account, but things like the Sales Navigator, and they've got these
Hmm.
LinkedIn Connects that are the equivalent of digital currency that you spend to outreach to these people because they don't want to share others' emails. They want it all to go through them. The tools around that, there are ways to do it. I've used several actually with Phantom Buster and things like an email finder to grab actual
Hmm.
email leads on that, and then do like email campaigns or cold email outside that. Doing things within the like the LinkedIn Connects and stuff. I do know that there are some limitations there. And off the top of my head, I want to say it's around 60 outreaches a day, which really isn't many. So, I mean, you'd need a certain amount of accounts to do that from. And ultimately, these numbers, I don't really know that they're magic, but they put it on it. It's like if a person's sending out more than 60 of these a day, obviously they're automating it and they want to shut that down. So you do have to do a little bit of dancing, but if you can get AI involved, one, it speeds up the process because, like you mentioned, he's probably slammed with all kinds of work. He needs to do some
Yes.
a pre-qualification that's more than just the generic data for the users, like every other cold email outreach they get. It sounds stale and it just isn't
Hmm.
working. So good luck.
Yeah.
Fun project.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing is like I don't know if I'm the right person. He's actually part of this community, part of the other community, and I'm like, well, am I the right person? Like I'm doing some research on tools that have like I don't know if they have strong relationships with LinkedIn, but they're advertising that they, when you're actually in, so I'm talking about the direct message.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody's like they've already got them into the direct message. Um, he wants AI to have a conversation a bit more, kind of like a decision tree type of thing, maybe even a little bit more in depth to try to understand what they're looking for. And so he, it just saves him time within that environment. He realizes that once he gets somebody in the direct message, they're not going to want to book a call. They kind of need to understand things a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's interesting.
Yeah, but if you have anything, I can send them your way. I kind of gave him a heads up. I'm not really an automation person, but I'll do some sleuthing.
Well, I'd be happy to talk to him and point him at least towards what I know, which, is only a small element. There are many solutions out there, of course, that uh, I haven't even heard of, let alone know
Okay.
what they do. But what about you, Kevin? Did you work with any new tools this week?
God, I don't, not that I know of. but I'm doing a
Well,
lot of automations.
that's great.
It's
Well,
really interesting because Stacy's talking about LinkedIn, and that's what I was working on yesterday was LinkedIn, trying to figure out what AI tools that they have available. I was looking at that duck soup or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what this guy is using, and there's limitations with Duck Soup, and there's other ones that are charging $99 a month. Um, and I don't know if this
Yeah.
person has the, you know, if that's worth it to him. I'm sure they'll do other stuff, but yeah, it's interesting that we're both kind of looking at the same area.
Same thing, yeah. Yeah.
well, it does really
Yeah, I was kind of
represent the
looking at
need.
different processes for LinkedIn.
Hmm.
It does represent the need, though, that I think the general community, and at least in particular with marketing and sales, that they kind of need to up their game. And I think they are probably among some of the early adopters because they're being forced into it.
Yeah. Yeah, they just charge an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I get that. So let's talk a little about Friday's call. I had hoped to get a little more input on this call because of it, but I know that Cindy reached out and said that she was available after like 2 p.m. Chicago time. But I don't know what you had in mind. I can make anything on my schedule work. But as far as I don't know that we can make it work for everybody, but is there kind of a time you're leaning towards?
I'm just opening up my Friday. Yeah, my Friday is pretty wide open. I'm on Eastern time. But I don't, yeah, my Friday's pretty open, which is great. And to be honest, like, I can I can do it on my own, but I'm just thinking like, there's a few other people that are interested in doing this. And if we can create like a framework. So
Mhm.
it's not just for me, but like if anybody that wants to go out, have a framework to use, go to, a community and kind of teach like just high level, AI literacy and then go down, get into safety. Like we could do that. And then I was thinking it kind of oddly ties into your community as well, like as an online resource to if they want to know
Yes.
more about AI. I don't know how you think about that. I wanted to put that, that bee in your bonnet to kind of see if you
Well, so
what
it,
your
it
thoughts are.
actually fits pretty well, and it's kind of in line with something I talked to Kevin earlier about today on our call. Is that I want to expand the community into more than just me, where we have kind of like mentors or moderators or topic experts on it, because from the standpoint of the demographic, there's so much knowledge in the community and we have so many experts within their domain that it's a little bit of a shame to try and limit that to just the way I see the world. I approached Kevin, and I would also like to approach you about it and others. Is that from a community engagement standpoint, if there are concepts or ideas or courses that you want to champion and promote, I would love that because the community gets better because of it. And
Hmm.
the rules that I told Kevin, there really aren't any, with the exception of just being civil and non-controversial. And if we avoid that, everything else is fair game. So
Hmm.
in regards to this, I absolutely think it fits with the community, and it's something that particularly if the people coming in like say Alma, for example, coming in the community, learning about AI and doing these things, the things that are on their mind are the big news headlines, the scare tactics, and the things that fall into that are deep fakes and scams. So
Hmm.
I think it would be a really kind of hot topic or area of discussion where people want to know like what's science fiction and what's real.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was kind of thinking. So I like for me on my end, and you and I had a couple of discussions. I'm trying to figure out my paths and direction. I'm kind of got a fork in the road, and I have to choose my love it and hate this at the same time. I'm like, I should call it a blessing, but yeah, for me, when it comes to educating, people that that are tech savvy, this would probably be a volunteer basis for me. And I like, I was kind of thinking, last week when I kind of came up with the idea, I'm like, I'm going to Arizona. I love the gated community that my parents are in, and there's tons of them there,
Mhm.
especially in southern US, right? You got a lot of snowbirds going down there, and I really like that community. So it's like, they're at the age range is 50 because that's kind of they kind of cut it off. It's like 50 plus
Yeah.
community. So I go, you know what? They're very engaged. They're hilarious. I said
Uh-huh.
like I should do a lunch and learn, and then wheels started turning. I'm like, if that goes well, then I could come back to Toronto and just like once a month, find a community, and reuse that curriculum and there because for me, it's about uh, adding my more in my brand, my personal branding in AI because I'm going through this career shift, and so
Mhm.
I'm not looking for anything monetary, but I'm also got to keep it pretty lean, and you know
Right.
what I mean. On that area, just because I'm like, well, what can I do here? Because it makes me feel good, for
Yeah.
starters, makes me feel good. And I think I can do it. I have the courage now, or I feel like I got the tools in my toolbox in order to go out and help educate. But I do have to keep it relatively lean. And so for me, it's just being more recognized as somebody in AI.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I don't know, but
understand.
but I was thinking I do that regularly, and then I would drive them back to this community.
Sure.
So if you want to learn more, that's what I think. Because a lot of them are going to like, well, where do I get more information? I'm like, Gary's way more intelligent than I am when it comes to,
That's not true. Not at all.
well, you do have a lot, your
Different
experience.
things. Different
Okay,
things.
but
I will acknowledge
fair,
that. Yeah.
fair. But when it comes to safety and stuff, I do feel like you have more weight than I do. So I was kind of thinking like, go to this source and learn. And when it comes to AI literacy and safety, like here is a welcome community and doesn't matter your level of experience or anything. So yeah, that's where I left off. And I don't know if there's got some legs to it.
That actually might be within the classroom area of the community is maybe creating an AI
Mhm.
literacy and safety course
Exactly.
and just dumping, calls like this or the meetings in there as reference material, and even, getting to the point if there were like an agenda or course curriculum for this that others could take and do it. For example, I know that Becca does this thing. She goes out and teaches people. It sounds like she hasn't recently, but I know she did do that in the past.
hmm Yeah. I was also thinking that you could do little short videos, like when something comes up like a deep fake,
Yeah,
and you could kind of, go, is this a deep fake or is this not?
yeah.
And then it's like, it's deep fake or it's, those little things that are just like 5-minute videos. And then it could, like I said, we go out if we want to volunteer, and then we say, hey, go to this community to learn more. And then it would be equipped with these, videos for, like it just, when you told me about your community at the beginning, Gary, I was just like, it fits. And this is a way for outreach to get more people to come to the
Well, good.
community.
Well, I
That's
think
what,
that's an
anyways.
idea. We can, I'll open up something like that. And we can plan on, at least for now, putting this content there, based on the outcome of the call this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, do you want to tentatively plan for like 3 or 4 o'clock your time? I think 3 o'clock your time would be 2 p.m. Cindy's time. I know she really wants to be there, or do we want to try and get a verbal commitment from others in the community, and maybe it's
We can
not
just
Friday.
Friday works the best for me.
Okay.
I'm open on timing. So I guess you can check with Becca. Kevin was the other one that mentioned, which I'm glad you're here, Kevin. So to be quite honest, if we just kind of say, here's the time, and then share with them, and we have that call.
Does that work for you, Kevin?
It works for me.
All right.
I'm
Well,
flexible.
I want to take the last little bit here and go over something that we talked about last week. We had talked about maybe having community projects each month to help people, one, understand what the community is about, but maybe come in with questions or topics they have that more or less give us content or subject matter to cover. Because sometimes I feel like, at least with the content that I was creating before, the tree was falling in the forest and no one was hearing it. And so I want to make sure the message is more targeted to what people want. And one of the things that came up in that for the project was to create a system that basically helped people identify areas in their life that AI could help them, because they're coming in, they don't know what AI is, and they don't even know where it can help them. I know if you're on Windows, Copilot's right in your face, but other than that, you're going out using, Chat GPT as an interface, but that's really very limiting to think that that's what AI is. There's so much more. And so the idea that I put together through the week, and this is what I'd like to get feedback on, because obviously I want to adapt it to the community's needs, is I came up with a little bit of a workflow here, something that we'll do as a project, one, to help onboard new members to the community, but also use it to kind of educate maybe the more technical people in the crowd so they can see how the software is developed, how the automations are built, why we would link one thing to another. Because I think there's a lot of value if you see these pieces being used together, that it begins to generate ideas in your head on where else you might use it. And I don't, there are a lot of really cheesy hello world examples of like, oh, let's have module A talk to model B, and now you can imagine everything it can do. Well, a lot of time you can't imagine what it is. Let me see it in a real world scenario. So what I was thinking is it would start with information gathering. And one of those PDFs that I sent out had basically, are you guys seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay. It had this list of questions, and this will probably be curated down, but these questions are designed, not only are the questions there, but the answers on why we would want that information. Then the input forms would be everything from forms to Chat GPT asking you through text to maybe a voice conversation. Maybe it could be a podcast interview, basically any style of input you have. And then I was thinking we would automate that information coming into the system and then distilling it down or parsing it into consistent data so that we're comparing apples with apples and not apples to oranges. And then that would go through a normalization process. And these are things that I've done throughout my career, is just trying to standardize data so you can make sense of it. And then if we could format it and store it, then we can get to a point where we can start asking AI questions and patterns about it. So in the case of our community, it would be all these people coming in. And if the questions are really specific about, like, tell me about your job every day. What do you spend your time doing? What do you hate doing? What do you wish you could get rid of? And then if we can aggregate that and extract the data with AI, I think we're going to begin to see patterns. And through those patterns in the community, we can say, well, these types of problems are solved with these services or software, these approaches. And, if we put some metrics behind that, like any type of scoring algorithm, you could see kind of the things that are high effort, low return versus low effort, high return. And you could really quickly see, well, if I can only do one thing, where would I start? For the average user, it's probably start by getting a ChatGPT account or something like that. But it progressively would go up through, okay, I'm running an entire division here. I've got the marketing division. This process is really bad. We could automate that. And what I was expecting down here in this area 9 is that this tool would also implement a RAG-based system to allow the experts within the community to kind of do a brain dump of what works in their industry and what doesn't. It's like, listen, I've been doing this. This was always a problem for us, and this is a problem. And then we can allow AI to look at that pool of documents from the experts within the community, compare it against the question base that we've asked, and then use it to help us identify the processes. Well, okay, you've got that problem. This is how we would do it. Now, in addition, within that RAG would not only hold the documents by the specialists within the community, but it would little one-page summaries or blurbs about what a tool does. So, for example, you were talking earlier about the tool that you linked out with Typeform. I've already forgotten its name.
Formless.
Yeah. And so if we were to just basically create a real quick document, Formless does this, this is why we would use it, this is where we use it, dump it into the RAG, it would then be aware of it and, could counsel us to maybe use it. And then ultimately it would get down to an AI workflow where you get the human in the loop, which gets down to the process mapping, which isn't fully automated. It does need the actual human interaction. And we could go through on calls like this or other special calls within the community where we discuss their problems, the potential solutions, and say, here's how we would solve it. After that would be a feedback loop and then ultimately continue on. If we could do that, what I think we would get is a really valuable onboarding tool to, one, find out what people do and don't know about AI, where it could help them, and then give a good working example of, not a tremendously complex, but a relatively complex AI implementation that would be using different agents. It would be using RAG. We could probably plug in multiple language modules just to show it being done. So it would really kind of be a showcase of different AI elements. That's the idea, and that's the long-winded pitch. And now I need the feedback to tell me, Gary, you're an idiot. That's not going to work, or that's way too much, too complex. Let's back it off.
Well, I see it as a decision tree, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm correct in that method. It's just like, okay, what are you here for? What do you know about AI? And then it takes you down a different path depending on, how you answer the questions, right? So, because I'm assuming people are going to go down a different path based on what they're looking for, right? And are you saying that what you're building will guide them to give them
for
the tools?
example, they would go through a similar set of questions which are in this, and it asks them things like, tell us about your current workflow at your job. And of course, it would be different for most people that are in different industries or different jobs. But depending on how much data you get, you can start looking at an aggregate level at, like we would have at the beginning, very little data. We would probably treat these as individual entities where we would look at them very specifically and come up with these solutions. And so what it would do is showcase, here within the community, we've got 70 people, and we find that I don't know, most people have problem X. Like they don't feel like they sound coherent enough in their email communications. They want to use AI to send it, but every time they do, it sounds like a robot and uses all the cheesy language that makes everybody throw up in their mouth. How do I use AI so it sounds like me, but fixes all of my problems so I don't look like an idiot? Well, that's a common problem. We'll stand back and say, okay, we'll do courses on that. Or maybe it's an issue where it's like, I can't keep my schedule straight. kind of like Drake and Carter have done. It's like I'm on my phone, but I'm at my desk. What would be a workflow system? And I know specifically, Kevin's dealt with these knowledge management systems in the past in organizing and has that flow. And so I think they're
Can
not
I show you
every.
something here, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Let me share. Can I share?
Yeah, let me stop sharing my screen here. Let me hop over.
I I think you're onto something here. It's really great.
My Zoom meeting is not, hold on, let me change windows. It's not letting me get back to my regular interface here where I can stop. I've done something. Okay, did that stop sharing yet? I don't think it did. No. Let me go around this other window here. It says it's stopping. I don't know what
There,
the
now I
delay
did.
is. Oh, it did finally stop? Okay.
Here, let me find it right quick. This is what I've been working on in my community too, is the structures and stuff and everything.
Okay.
And I think building a questionnaire like that would be great. Making it work in school is kind of interesting because I've been trying to figure that out myself.
School is
But
really
here's what,
limited. Yeah.
yeah, here's some of the, here's kind of some of the stuff that I've put together
Okay.
that I can, like these, coming off of your form, like a questionnaire or something like that. I ain't figured out how to do it yet, but I've got some stuff in here that I've already been working on and things that kind of makes me think that we can do something like that. But
Yeah, I definitely think the two could probably be merged because it looks like, from this standpoint, there's a lot of onboarding and education and directional stuff in here.
yeah,
So tell me the purpose of this course that you were in. What was the goal? At what level would they come in and where would they go out? Do you have like a roadmap or journey of what it would teach?
well, I haven't got that roadmap yet. I'm working on
Okay.
that roadmap, but I'm trying to figure out. I've been trying the last 2 days. I've been trying to figure out the onboarding process into into
Cool.
school. Yeah, into school, like I'm
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone through
into
that as
trying to figure out the onboarding process into this, and I'm trying to automate it for different tiers.
okay.
So, but yeah,
State
I just wanted to kind of take you over there to that a little bit. See what I can
that
see
looks really good.
some variances.
I
I can
would
see a
definitely
lot of
like
variances.
talk with you more and find out where we can tie the two in together. Um,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Like you can create a link over here, like you create the link with the description. You could probably create a link underneath this to a form or questionnaire on yours
right. So
and take them through that process.
after hearing that additional information, Stacy, did that answer your questions, or is it still? I don't know that I view it as a decision tree. I view it
Got
as
it.
get the information and then act on the information. And I guess ultimately it would break out into a decision flow, but
Yeah,
Yep. I'm just, as you guys were going through it, I think, the interface could be formless because it has APIs. You could connect it to Zapier and other tools. Like you can connect to different databases as you wish. Formless is a it's got flashy interface because so it's very pretty and it adds a bit of context. So like I said, I think that would be an interesting way, and I would encourage you to do a bit of research on it, but I might save you time and have more update on Friday, just because I'm attending a few of they have an event on Thursday. Um, but yeah, I was going to maybe show you, but there's like a few things that I'm like, because I was trying to figure out where it says that the API is, yeah, you can embed formless anywhere with multiple formats. I know that you can integrate it with Zapier. It is AI enabled, as I mentioned. You can add a bunch of different visuals to it. It asks more questions about you. It's just like it's something that you can definitely build upon for getting information and collecting your data, right? Because you're big on data, right? And like it is such a I don't know, I just like the interface a lot, to be honest, to engage with that it can be, that go between kind of like I'll send this out, hopefully I get enough data, and then but you would have to do your magic on the back end that you do so well if you want to integrate it with different platforms. I know that they do allow Zapier to connect with it.
Well, and I would assume it's a pretty robust API if Typeform is behind it, because I know the
Yeah.
Typeform API is a pretty good
Yeah. And
API
I
there.
know Perplexity is using it quite a bit because I oddly came across it again. I thought, oh, Formless, because I was looking for a survey tool for the personal branding course, and I went to Perplexity and I'm like, okay, are there any AI forms out there? And they said, yeah, Typeform, and then they just launched Formless. So. Um, yeah, it seems like it's starting to pop up quite a bit in various areas. So for data collection, it's pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, I will look into that more, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that on Friday. I
Mhm.
did see that we had Sajid pop in. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little about it. I don't know that I've had a chance to speak with you before.
Hey, Gary, how are you guys? Yeah, I was just sitting here. I was waiting for my son to come home. That's how I had it on mute and on a blackout here, but he's home. Everything's good. Yeah, I've just been following the community here and there. I'm part of a few communities. But yeah, this one caught my attention because 50 and over, and I'm almost 50.
There you go. So,
So it makes sense.
so I had my participants thing kind of hidden, and I didn't see it till you popped up here. How much of the conversation have you been able to follow today?
I had to take a phone call in between, so I saw parts of it where you want to build a community and advertise it on snippets of 5-minute videos, etc.
Okay. So, in terms of the communities you're on, I'm just looking here. You're in a handful of different AI communities. Tell me specifically what could this community do to help you? Do you know what you want your AI journey to be?
For me, it's more capitalistic. How do you capitalize on AI, and how do you make a passive or stream of revenue that can help you uh, jump on this boat like I did in the dot-com era,
Got it.
right? The booming in the dot boom in 2000s. I joined IT and I capitalized from career to career. Spent 20 years in IT and just keep developing. So this is where I see the infancy stage now with AI.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we can ride that wave if we're in the right position or in the right pocket.
And you're
Perfect.
So
in IT?
I am part of another community that I took a paid course where I'm learning actually I'm learning about cloud with AI for Azure and AWS.
I saw that. Looks like an amazing and expensive community.
Well, that aspect of the program wasn't as expensive as the DevOps portion, which I'm part of.
Okay.
Because I focused most of my career on systems and networks. on
Uh-huh.
on-prem, not much on cloud, but I've always wanted to be part of the cloud boat, so or the Docker. Um, so I joined that computer just to accelerate that learning curve.
Great. That's
And
great.
then
You'll have to keep us
I'm in the
updated.
same community as you with the AI Foundations.
Yeah, and in fact, I think everybody here is on that. And that's where I first met both Kevin and Stacy. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I think that's where I looked at your profile and I saw you were part of the leaderboards and you were part of this group. And I think that's where I think I joined this community.
thank you. It's nice to have you here, and we look forward to having you participate within the community as well. What we're talking about, with the nature of that kind of introductory questionnaire, whether it's through a form or some other mechanism. Uh, what's your feeling on that? How well do you think that would be received? Do you think people would just view it as busy work and not necessarily want to do it, or do you think there would be some value in that?
There's value in everything that we do as long as it tweaks people's interest. Like I'm looking at your classroom. You have a 30-minute video of start here and call recordings, which is a good start. But if you compare that to the other forums, they have a lot more on the learning path. I
Mhm.
think what people want to be part of is, some form of videos or community where they can accelerate their knowledge and build up with that knowledge to capitalize on this new path.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I had started with over on the YouTube channel on getting that done. And ultimately where it ended, and it didn't end, it just kind of stalled out, is because I found the nature of the content we were creating wasn't necessarily what the current community wanted to consume. And so that was kind of a step back for me, trying to figure out, what will be more relevant to the people here within the channel, because first and foremost, these are the people that I want to help. And so I think that's actually where we're going to get, is we're talking about bringing in more of these educational pathways. One of the big things on school that is kind of difficult is if you go into, for example, like the school training that they've got, the Hermosis over there, the games. The communities aren't, or excuse me, the classroom areas aren't nearly used as much as they thought they would be, both to their surprise and many of the content creators. I will say they don't have great tools here on telling us what's being consumed, and so that's a little bit limiting as well. But if we could put some training in there, what do you think would be the first type of training you would want to go through?
You know what caught my attention with AI Foundations was their YouTube or Instagram video of how to use AI to
Hmm.
create a feed stream to my LinkedIn. And for me, career right now is on my front radar because I've worked 20 years almost, and I took a break this year. Um, I took it about 12 months off, but now I'm back on the back. So anyway, that attracted me because it shows me how AI can integrate with a process to advance your career or your knowledge base, and it created an automation of putting LinkedIn post. And I think that really attracted me, like, oh wow, this is really good practical use of AI for real life. And that's why I joined his paid group actually.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are paid members.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So I think we all have that same commonality that, we did want to learn something, but if in your niche you're saying 50 plus, right? So what do people that are 50 plus want to know about AI? It doesn't have to necessarily be a learning curriculum based on like their models, but on your own. What is it going to benefit us? How is it going to make us at peace? Sorry, let me just switch this camera thing. I don't know what happened. Okay, we'll go to the fancy camera if it comes up. Sorry, not sure what's going on with the camera.
That's okay.
Uh, but yeah, that's my consensus. Like, how are we different from those groups, right? We're 50 plus. Are we soon to some people soon to be 50 plus, 50 and plus. Um, like for me, I think the benefit is, I guess, how would it bring me harmony? rather than capitalistic view.
Mhm.
That would give me some peace of mind. At 50, you should be established at some point financially. Uh, so that's my perspective. I don't know if you'll agree, but that's my sentiment is this should have a different niche than the other places.
Mhm.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. It means a lot.
What is your line of work? Like, so what is what is your background and work side?
I work in financial services, so like
Mm-hmm.
Wall Street firms, and I built infrastructures based on trading and a hosted platform with private clouds and data center co-locations across geographic sites.
Very cool.
So mostly MIS and IT, systems networks. And
Gotcha.
yep.
And so you were like trying to fast track and wrap your head around the Gen AI world, just like my neighbor.
It's a little daunting. I kind of put on the sidetrack for now because I want to finish up my DevOps track. Uh,
Hmm.
because I have an opportunity that's arising probably end of the month-ish, SRE role that I want to accomplish. I work part-time through this phase. I still do
Hmm.
what I was, is my career based on, which is facilitating co-locations, systems networks in financial services. I'm also working on a partnership with a broker-dealer that we're trying to build up that's going to have overnight trading.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can see that trading is a big thing. I'm keeping an eye on all these digital assets. I was part of a digital assets firm actually trading Genesis trading. That was a digital assets where I actually was part of the HSM build outs in secure vaults off the grid. So where your wallets are stored for these institutions. That's what I used to work on. But then I worked at Estee Lauder as a field service engineer manager for 50 FSEs. And that was great, but it's just not what I wanted to do. And so I
Sure.
just stopped unemployment, and then I just took time to reflect. Got my hair done in Turkey a couple of months ago, lost weight, and I feel great, and I'm back energized, and I'm just studying, studying, studying. And at the same time, when I study, I walk on. Sorry, I don't know if this thing is. You guys can hear me. It keeps flipping around between these
Yeah, your
cameras.
camera, you have one of those cameras that follows you around. I like it, but yeah,
Yeah, I have two right now connected. I think that's the problem, and it's going between them for some reason.
makes sense. You're on a similar path to me. I'm kind of in the same boat, but I'm from a marketing standpoint and needed to step back because I just wasn't really empowered by the company that I was at. And I was really worried that artificial intelligence was moving really quickly and I wasn't able to capture it
You
and
know,
work
it's
with it.
It's funny you say that. A lot of people think, oh, it's going so fast, everything. But it's been there. They just integrated it from their cloud presence. It's so easy to build out AI through Azure or AWS
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's a no code. So a lot of people think, oh my God, I'm missing the boat or it's going too fast. It really isn't. It's just technology out there just incorporating into their APIs. So for us, we're at the infancy. We're not even touched the peak here. It's a great time to learn, especially
Yep.
marketing. For marketing, like everything is revolving around marketing. Like you can make a lot of
Hmm.
passive streams just by using AI to facilitate an Instagram or social media accounts and all these things that you see a lot of influencers doing it right now and they're cashing out crazy.
Yep. No,
But
I,
it depends on your goal too. Like, what is it that you want it out? Like, do you want the money? Do you want the technology? Or do you just want to like sit back and understand how it can
mhm.
give you some zen?
Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, it's business. I want to make myself, I consider myself the IP. I'm not going to make products. I'm just going to, make sure that I am the expert and the modern marketer. So I'm kind of blending uh, traditional processes with the technology of AI. So kind of looking at existing models that are, traditionally created, but then how can you augment it and add efficiency with AI? So that's my goal. And as you mentioned, marketing, there's so much there. But that's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I think what I'm getting from this call is like, like even, with Gary, like you are so incredibly talented. Like, I don't know if you heard Gary's background. He's got a fantastic video talking about like his breadth of knowledge. And it's an interesting, what you said, Gary, is like, but I want to help the community here. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know who you can connect with based on the main skill that you have to provide. So it's kind of like this morning when we had our, branding thing. You kind of got to do a little bit of reflection. It's like, okay, what am I really good at?
Yeah, that's a
And
good
then,
point.
and
That's great
then
advice.
yeah, this community could be there. Like I was kind of going, well, you could have two tracks, one where people are coming in and they just want to use AI for their personal and kind of understand it. And then you have like, honestly, you are an expert that are going to create these massive, complex tools and have like, this group of very intelligent people. So I'm just trying to think like you could almost have two tracks. And then when they come in through the form, it's going to be a lot of work for you, but there's one track where it's, over 50, you are, you're not as tech savvy, but then you have a lot of people that are 50 and over who are very technical and, maybe only on the traditional IT path and have yet any time to really upskill in the technology and how it's changed through Gen AI. And the reason, so you're right, like artificial intelligence has always been here, but like my neighbor works at BMO, which is the Canadian bank, large
Back in
Canadian bank
Montreal
here.
was one of my clients.
Yeah. So you understand how the IT department works. He's focused on Microsoft and they're so busy on just dealing with Azure, but they don't have time to, get upskilled in Gen AI because their workload is just daunting and they're dealing with legacy platforms and everything. So I guess what I'm saying, Gary, is that there will be a need, and these people don't have time. Like they'll probably go to the traditional, I'll go to, like, as I got certified by Amazon just because I don't know, I'm like, why not? In my learning journey and became a practitioner and understood the cloud and everything, but I don't know if I'll use it. So they may go down that path, but that's a little bit daunting too, right? They kind of also want a community where they can engage with, and Amazon doesn't provide that unless I'm wrong, or Microsoft. Like it's so formal and static, and no offense, blah. Like it's not. You guys can
You
correct
gotta you
me.
gotta be into IT to really and be enticed by that model.
No, but I get it. But the communities around it are pretty stale, I found when I was exploring those areas. You know what I mean? Like yeah. I find that I don't really want to hear from Microsoft too much on it at times. I like their tools, but the way that they present is whatever. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining today. I know we're at the end of our hour, and I appreciate everybody coming and for all the feedback you've given. It's really valuable. Stacy, I look forward to our call this Friday where we go over the deep fakes and the security issues. And if there's anything I can do for any of you in the meantime, please just reach out, shoot me a message, make a forum post, whatever you want.
Great. Thanks,
Hey
guys.
Gary,
Thanks
just a
for
quick question. What is your background? I came a little late, so uh, what is that you do?
Are you talking to Gary?
Gary, sorry. I don't know if this microphone
Oh,
keeps
yeah.
going back and forth.
So yeah, I've been in tech over 33 years now. I started back with, I don't know if you're familiar with old technology, Novell and WordPerfect are where I
Of
started.
course.
And I came up through those and basically about 23 years ago, split out on my own company, doing software development, typically custom integrations, workflow automations, things like that. A lot of it centered around e-commerce. And just within the last 12 to 18 months, I'm shifting the focus from that more traditional development model into the AI no-code model because the writing is on the wall in terms of what development is going to be on the future. So I have this community, but my company that I run is Odin Development, and I've just recently rebranded and relaunched that as the AI automation service. But for my day job, it is automation workflow. Still do a ton of database work. Database automations and analysis is still a large part of it.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, I did work on Novell, and I did start with Commodores, and I started with all that fun stuff in the 80s,
Hey,
90s.
Commodores hold a dear place in my heart.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for this
Thank you,
meeting. Thank you
everyone.
for
Have a
doing this.
great day.
Take care, everybody. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.